Hello, everybody, and Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. Today, we have a special Christmas gift. We have a box under the tree. Kasten. Why do I say Kasten under the tree? Well, Kasten in German means box or container, right? So there you go. Wrapped up. We're going to install Kasten today. So a reminder, we installed Rocky Linux. We installed K3S lightweight Kubernetes distribution, and then we installed KubeVirt and some other helpers there like KubeVirt Manager. And we installed a VM, and a VM is working. We saw it, Ubuntu. And today we're going to install Kasten. Okay, so what's with the funny hat, Jeff? Well, from doing all this Kubernetes and all this Kasten, my brain has grown, and yours will too. And soon, no hats will fit. Do you believe me? No, and you're right not to. So this Santa hat, unfortunately, went into the wash, and I washed it, and that's not one of my skills. And I think I used the hot water or something like that, and or the cold water. I don't know what it was, but it came out a lot smaller, which is unfortunate. And I had no time to go get a new one, so I'm squeezing my head today, and that's why I look so funny. So let's get right to it and install some Kasten into our Rocky Linux. Okay, so what's important here right off the bat? What have I done? And I'll just clear that. I create a namespace first. Now, reminder, you will get all the instructions for this, not at the very end, because this is going to go on forever, because Kasten will keep getting better, right? But there will be a point after the initial installs and things we've done that I will put all these instructions in the Veeam Community Hub so that you can go through the process. What I want you to do now is to watch, listen, and this will all sink into your brain, especially if you're squeezing it with an undersized hat. And then when you go to do it, things will seem much more natural. Trust me, it works. Okay. I want to install Kasten, and to do that, I need to add a repo, okay? Now, I've done this already for testing purposes. I don't want to waste everyone's time and show up and nothing works. And it worked anyways. But you know, when I don't test it beforehand often, it doesn't work. I don't know what it is. It's like a jinx. So I'll just show you the commands here because I've done them. The first thing you need to do is actually add the repository. So we're going to use Helm. And remember, we already used Helm for something. It doesn't know, the system doesn't know about Kasten at all. So you got to tell it. And the way you do that is very simple. We've done this before with, I can't remember, I think it was Longhorn we installed. We installed something with Helm in one of the previous issues. Helm repo add Kasten. Boom. And then it adds the repo. And then after that, we do Helm repo update. And we can do that now, that's no problems. And it will update all of the Helm charts that you have in your system. So I was correct. We installed Longhorn with Helm, and we're now going to install Kasten, and it's been added and it's been updated. So it's ready to go. Okay. One important thing I want to do, and I created the namespace too. So I'll just get namespaces because I did that already. I did a K create NS, short for namespace, Kasten.io, and you can see it there already. Okay. What's very important though is remember we installed Longhorn and we installed a volume snapshot class. And we did that so that we can leverage volume snapshotting, CSI volume snapshotting, so container storage integration snapshotting, because that's what Kasten uses to create backups. Create snapshots, and those snapshots get exported from the cluster, and that's a backup. But you got to tell Kasten what you've got. You might have 5 of these. You might have none of them. It's not going to know by default. So it's very simple. You just need to annotate it, and the way you do it is this. It's this simple command, K annotate volume snapshot class. In our case, it's Longhorn, and it will work in the sense that it'll know that it's supposed to use that volume snapshot class. All right. And just so that you, if you ever forget what it is, you can just do K get volume snapshot class. And again, you can have more than one, and you can annotate more than one. But there it is. Volume slapshot. I'm playing hockey. Slapshot class. Snapshot class. Longhorn. There it is. And we annotated that so our application Kasten knows that that's what it's going to use. It can use that. You could have more of them though if you wanted to, but in our case we only have one. Okay, excellent. So the final thing we want to do is for Kasten, I don't want to create a node port for the service. Remember, we created a node port because by default, if you just install it, it'll be a cluster IP service. Services are what you use in order to get to the application, right? So we've seen this previously. In one case, I did a port forward, showed you how to do that. That's temporary. You forward the port, you can go in that way. In another case, I created a node port. So I changed my deployment. The service was cluster IP, which meant you could only see it inside of the cluster. I changed that to node port. And then on the host, it actually shows up as a port that's being, it's accessible. That's not good to do for production for a lot of reasons. One reason, you have to put the port in there. It's some crazy port up above 30,000, so it's not much fun. Much better to use other techniques, and there are a few others. One is ingress. K3S comes with a default ingress controller, so it's a special deployment which knows how to do ingress. And so we need to tell Kasten two things in my case for the Helm chart. Remember, if I just install the Helm chart, it's going to be all default installation, right? And I might not want it to be default. And by default, it doesn't create an ingress. I also want to tell it to do a special type of authentication. Well, not special, but a good one. Token authentication. You can use basic authentication. You can use OAuth, OpenID Connect, other things like that. But I want to use token authentication. Basic's kind of useless. I don't even think you can use RBAC with it, so there's really no point. So we're going to use token authentication. So those two things I want to tell it. So I've created a special file. I used the wrong window. I'm sorry. I created a special file called the values file. We did this before with Longhorn, remember? And I called it K10 underscore val YAML. They're all YAMLs, and there it is. And you got to remember YAML. Everything's a YAML. Just think of a big furry mammoth. I don't know why. The first someone said YAML to me, I thought of this big yak full of fur attacking me. And that's what it felt like. Because you get an indentation wrong, it won't work, and it refuses to work. It's more like a donkey in that case. Anyways, what am I doing in this YAML file? I'm basically, my chair's falling apart. I'm using token authentication. So I'm saying enable that true. And I'm telling it that I want to use ingress. My ingress controller is traffic or traffic. I don't know how you pronounce it. And so that's the class. And enable true. That simple. Okay. So now comes the extremely easy and fun part. In fact, I feel silly even copy and pasting this, but I'm lazy. Helm install. We've done that before. K10 will be the name. So we'll be able to do Helm list afterwards, namespace, and see it. The chart's the Kasten K10 chart in the Kasten IO namespace. And please use that values file. So off we go. Now, it'll come up like that, but just like with Longhorn, doesn't mean it's ready. So what we need to do is to watch it. You can watch it or just keep pressing, get the pods, where in the Kasten namespace, right? And we can see a bunch are already running. Some are initiating, container creating. You could just type -W and watch this in real time if you've got nothing better to do, but it's not that thrilling. If you really are worried about something going wrong, you could do that. I'm just going to keep doing this. And look, they're all up. So all of the containers are up, the pods are up, and they're ready. Now, if you see this 1 and 0 in front of it, it means it's up, but it's not ready. That could be things like health checks. There's different types of checks you can do in Kubernetes, and it will do that and tell you whether it's ready. There's a bunch of them. We won't go into that now, but this shows us everything's ready. Now, we asked it to create an ingress, remember? Right? We asked it to create an ingress. So let's see if that is there. K get ing. I'm not going to type ingress. I won't waste my time. Where? Yes, in the Kasten IO namespace. And there it is. There it is. Okay, so let's put our money where our mouth is and let's try to get in there. I'm going to use the IP address. With ingress, you could have used a host name, other things like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use the IP address. We're trying to keep things simple, and then we're going to build on top of that. Okay, there's my Longhorn, my KubeVirt. I left those all up. And in this case, I'm going to put that like that. Now, this is HTTPS because Traffic creates a certificate. And you could, if you wanted to, hook that up to Cert Manager in Kubernetes, which will automatically create a certificate. And you could hook it up to a CA, and then you could have it be verified automatically. You wouldn't have to type, this is, the warning you get. Now, because it's ingress, I don't put in a port. It's going to come through the local one. And this is the standard URL to get into Kasten. Okay, there's my warning because I haven't connected this to my certificate. It's just a self-signed. Boom. There we go, folks. Kasten's ready to go. Now, we talked about token, right? We need to put a token in there. That's what I've created, my deployment to use tokens. But we're going to leave that for tomorrow because we have to do a little bit of extra. Because when I go into Kasten, okay, I need to go in as somebody, right? And you can have different levels of authorization. Remember, there's authentication and there's authorization. We're going to use RBAC, role-based access control, to get in there. And that's important too because we're also doing virtual machines. We're leveraging virtual machines here. And in Kasten, there's some extra permissions you need there. So I'm going to leave that as a separate session. For today, that's enough. We have Kasten running. We have our system running. We are very happy. For those that celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. For people celebrating other things, Merry whatever. But happy Kasten, because we're all celebrating Kasten, and we will be celebrating it even more when 8.5 comes up. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.